There are many resistances and barriers that can prevent people even contemplating veganism. There can be such things as culture and tradition, social pressures, and even identities. So culture is such an important part of us and our human history. What we admire about many ethnicities is the dance, the language, the music, the art, and of course, food. Food is such a beautifully visceral experience that we get to live by as being human. And many cultures, of course, have meat or animal products as a part of these recipes. So a lot of people might feel pressure from their tradition or their ancestors when it comes to becoming vegan, because they almost feel like they're disrespecting their heritage by choosing to not continue in the way that your ancestors used to eat. Another major barrier for men particularly is this whole issue of masculinity. You're not a real man unless you eat meat. Now, my assumption of the origin of this masculinity-meat coupling is, of course, with our history, men presumably used to be the hunters, and they showed their ability, their masculinity to provide for their families, to look after their families and their loved ones by bringing and providing them food. When we fast forward to today's context, when men buy meat from a butcher, they're essentially buying the bodies of baby, innocent, vulnerable animals who had been killed against their will. Now, I might be looking at this wrong, but I don't see what really is manly about paying a baby animal to be killed, especially when we don't have to. I would much rather define masculinity as the ability to stand up for those who are weak and vulnerable, to stand and speak up for those that don't have a voice, to speak up for those that are getting oppressed and enslaved and tortured and murdered. This is the way that I want to define masculinity moving forward. For any men that are getting a little bit doubtful about being vegan and losing their manly identity, in my opinion, in today's world, there is nothing manly about eating meat. And after all, even if they were to hunt their own animals, what is so manly about killing an animal that you didn't have to kill, taking someone's life away? But then, ultimately, there are identities which help us become vegan. We all want to be kind, we all want to be loving, we all want to be compassionate, and we all ultimately call ourselves animal lovers. And we have to ask ourselves whether participating in animal product consumption, whether we are truly congruent with this own identity that we want to hold. We want to be animal lovers, but every time we buy animal products, we are creating animal pain and suffering. So it's connecting to these identities which can actually help us be vegan. And that is, I don't want to hurt others. I don't want to enslave others. I don't want to pay for others to be killed. These are the identities of just basic human moral codes, that a lot of identities that we actually want to just hold on to.